Hello and welcome to the Falcon Tech Solutions Central video blog. This video blog will be focused on the prerequisite steps necessary to walk through the Azure Data Factory tutorial to copy data from Azure Blob Storage to an Azure SQL Database. In this tutorial, we will first cover creating a sample file which is based on employee data. We'll basically create this notepad. Next, we will actually use a tool such as Azure Storage Explorer. I'm using Cloudberry in this case. And we will actually connect to our Azure Blob Storage. We will create a container, and then we'll actually upload that employee data file to our container. Then lastly, we'll use SQL Server Management Studio on-premise, SQL Server 2014, to create the employee table in our Azure SQL Database. Now we're going to prepare our Azure Blob Storage and the Azure SQL Database for the tutorial of performing a few steps. The first thing that we have to do is create a text file that contains simulated employee data. In this case, just simply launch Notepad, and you want to paste the following text and save it. And in this case, we have a John, Doe, Jane, Doe, and this is the basic file that we're going to use. Next, I am going to actually use Cloudberry Explorer for Azure Blob Storage that will allow myself to create a container for my Blob Storage account that I've previously created in our other prior tutorial. And once we have that container created, we will actually upload the employee text file that we see here to that container. In Cloudberry, since it is a new Blob Storage account, I'm actually going to click my new Azure Blob Storage account. And here, what I'm actually will be providing is the display name, the account, and there's keys that you have to acquire when you are going to connect to your Blob Storage. The keys are obtained through the properties on your Azure Blob Storage. And this is a key component to getting this information set up so that you can actually create the container. So what I will actually add here is, since my Blob Storage name, when we created in our previous tutorial, was Falcon Tech Blob Storage, that is the display name. Paste that here. It is also the account name. And then there are, as I said, Blob storage keys. Typically, you will have 2 storage keys per Azure Blob Storage account. It would be a good idea to copy both of those, and either one can be used to actually connect to your Blob Storage from a tool such as Cloudberry. And I'm going to include that key here. I can actually test my connection. It'll go out and try to make a connection to my Azure account. We actually can see my connection was successful. I can close this and say OK. Now, I should have that new Blob Storage created. In the Cloudberry Explorer for Azure Blob Storage, to create a container, I simply click the Azure container icon here. And now I can actually provide the container name. In this case, I'm actually going to provide my container name, Falcon Tech Container. I am going to go ahead and go with the default setting of no public read access. I don't have a need for anybody to read it outside of what I'm working with here. So I am just going to leave this as the default setting. Press OK, and it will go out and actually work through creating now that container. Then I have simply copied my file, and it will actually now appear in my Falcon Tech container. The final and following step is just that we've created a SQL script to create the table or employee table in our Azure SQL Database. Currently, this is a SQL Server 2014 instance, which plays the role as an on-prem instance of SQL Server. Again, we saw how to connect to our Falcon Tech SQL Server Azure SQL Database right here. And in this case, I will actually be connecting to my Falcon Tech database that we created previously and executing this script in SQL Server Management Studio, much like you would do in an on-premise instance of SQL Server. I'll go ahead and execute. Our command is completed successfully, and now I can go out and navigate to actually see that I have got that table. I'll just do a refresh quickly. And we should now see that that table now appears. Thank you for watching this Falcon Tech Solution Central video blog on how to prepare Azure SQL Blob Storage and Azure SQL Database for Azure Data Factory. Have a great day.